Greetings to you online learners. This is Mrs. Lindsay, your principal. I have some updates in this little brief PowerPoint I'm going to present to you that will hopefully help you kick off your learning when we return from fall break on October 5th. I'm going to discuss with you some online platforms, particularly iReady, writing, student progress, and a few tips. All right, within iReady, your child should have already taken the diagnostic in reading and in math. From that diagnostic, your child gets a learning path. And what we expect is that your child will spend 15 minutes each day per subject for a total of 45 minutes per week. So obviously you don't have to do it every day, 3 days a week in reading and in math. And this is designed to help fill gaps if your child has some misunderstandings in previously learned standards from earlier grade levels. It can give on grade level instruction if your child scored on grade level. And it can also accelerate your child if your child scored in more advanced standards. The only time I would increase the time in iReady is if your child has finished with the Pathblazer work. And in that case, I would increase the time to about 30 minutes a day, and I wouldn't go over that. Starting the week of October 5th, it'll take me a little bit, but what I plan to do, I've downloaded all the diagnostic reports for math and reading for your children, and I will email them to you to the email address that you have listed as your #1 priority contact in Infinite Campus. If you need to fix that or change it, please do so within the parent portal. And I'm also going to put together a brief video to explain the parts of the report, just to help orient you to the information that's within it, to help you just to understand it a little better. Okay. Something you may have already noticed is this icon within Clever, and it says CPS CES Distance Learning Document. So if you click on that, your child can access activities from art and music and PE. And if your child were here at school, your child would get PE 2 times per week and art and music 1 time per week. And so there are lessons in there for 2 times and 1 time per week. And it might be fun for your child to make a little schedule of how they're going to do their activity classes and in what order. But this is there to help support your child and have a more well-rounded education. Okay, please remember that your child can check out books and take AR tests at home. The tests can only be taken during school hours. And if you can, I know it's hard, y'all, but try not to help your child. Let them have this idea of productive struggle. Let them wonder and do their best, because you're never really going to know how your child is doing if you are always helping them find the answers. And they also need to learn a sense of agency and confidence and independence, and that only comes from when they can produce their own work. I'm going to present this to you. I'm going to send it to you as a video, but I'm also going to send you just the hard copy of this so that you can click all of the links within here if you just want to watch like the refresher video on how to reserve a book at our media center. Y'all, please also remember that the local library is open for checkout as well. And you can look up any AR book and see, or any book, and see if it's an AR book if you're interested in your child also taking the test. Remember that books have to be reserved online by Friday for you to pick up on Tuesday. And obviously this Tuesday we will not have a book pickup because we are going to have fall break next week. So in order to take a test, some of you have reached out to me or Mrs. Johnson, our media specialist, but your child would click on this icon within Clever, but then you have to go, it takes you to a login page. And your child's username is his or her first initial and the first 4 letters of the last name. So for Mrs. Johnson, her name is Christy Johnson, so it's CJOHN. The password is always going to be their lunch number. If you have a question, Mrs. Johnson is very happy to answer any questions. There's her email address, so please feel free to email her if you're struggling or for whatever reason you're not able to log in, and she'll walk you through. Occasionally there are some issues because this only works if your child's name has never been used in our system. So if it has been used, there's just a few exceptions. So if you have a problem, just let her know. All right, I want to talk for just a second about writing, because in PathBlazer, everything is online. But also in PathBlazer, you notice not every activity is not graded, and it's the same in the classroom. Not everything gets graded. So just because the writing or there's not a writing assignment that's getting graded, it doesn't mean that your child should just forget about writing at home, because as we know, it's a form of communication that all of our children need. All of our children need. All right, so I know I'm talking to parents, kindergarten parents through 4th grade, but I want to talk to kindergarten 1st grade for just a second, because there are developmental stages of writing, and it's just important that you understand it, because your child, like cognitively, has to go through these stages in order to eventually write for meaning. And the first stage a child goes through is in drawing. And so right here you see a child's drawing, and you see the sun, you see tree with branches and leaves. We see a little person there with feet and fingers and some detail, and something on the ground, maybe a blanket on the ground. And what we want is we want very detailed drawings. The next stage a child will go to is just scribbling, and it's scribbling to represent writing. And a child is imitating writing they see in books, maybe writing that you do, writing that they see in different places in their environment. And this is normal, and they have to be able to do this. The next stage, they just kind of make squiggles, I would call it. And some do represent letters and some don't represent anything. And this is, again, their attempt to start imitating. Down here, you can see they are starting to understand letters, and they put together strings of letters, and you can see a number in there. We see this might be a backward S, completely developmentally appropriate. The next step a child might go to is called invented spelling. But you can see some interesting things here that you don't see up here. For example, this child has a little bit of a sight word understanding that the I is capitalized when it's used by itself. We can also see this kid say, I will be maybe happy when, okay? So we can see that if this is will, that the child understands the first sound and the last sound in that word, and it has represented those sounds correctly. Be, of course, is a sight word, and the child phonetically understands that. Happy is close, right? We also, again, we have the first sound. We have a middle sound with the P. We have the A and the E to represent the E sound of the Y. And when. So we see the H missing out of when. And again, when is a sight word. Another thing we see is that the child seems to have a good understanding of lowercase letters and spacing between words. So there's a lot to work with right here. A lot of good stuff is going on in that little mind that wrote this. So something that if it were my child, I'd probably be working on sight words, because I can see that the child is getting some of those sounds, but you know, sight words are just words you have to learn because they don't really follow the rules necessarily. And so a lot of good stuff going on here. And then of course, here's the writing that we understand. Now, something that I didn't mention up here is that within the picture, a lot of times, and if you have older children, you know this, that the teacher will go and maybe just write a sentence of what this is, or might write words or phrases representing different pieces of this. Maybe this child is talking about a favorite afternoon or a favorite day. And here's the child, and he's about to sit on the blanket and watch his brother play baseball. And he's under a shade tree. It was a really sunny, hot day, and the teacher might write tree, sun, and baseball, and maybe me or the child's name. But basically, we'll just label some of the things that are going on, or maybe write one sentence that represents what's going on, what the child says is happening, not a summary of what the child says, but what did the child say about this picture. And then what we would want to do is we would want to scaffold these children to start labeling their own pictures. And it may look like scribbles, but that child is making a connection between written words and meaning for what they are. And the writing will come, but it's that representation of words to label pictures. So you can also, I put a link at the bottom of this. It's just a really good 5-minute video to give you a little bit more information and kind of see this in action. So you might wonder, especially if you have a kindergartner or first grader, like what stage of writing is my child in? Because kids really do need to move through these stages. And the way you do this is you have your child write something independently, and then you compare the child's writing to these pictures. And I have linked this so that you can read this writing. You can go straight to this page where this is, okay? And you will also get some other information about emergent writing. But again, I just want to really stress that those scribbles, all these things that just look like a hot mess to us, this is something they really have to go to. But the idea at home as that child's learning coach is that you want to find ways to scaffold them up. But they need to get comfortable holding that paper, holding that pen or crayon, and making, attempting with their writing. And they should be doing this. I would have them do it every day. Okay? Again, I included another little video down here. It's not very long, but again, it's going to give you some ideas to support early writing. All right, so students need practice writing formally and informally. And let's look over here for informal writing. What do I mean by that? It could just be a journal entry. You have a composition notebook and the child writes every day, might write a summary of the day, might write a little bit about my favorite color. My favorite color is blue. It reminds me of the sky. My bedroom is blue. I love the color blue. It could be my favorite holiday. It could be my favorite place. Like my bedroom is my favorite place. It has all my stuffed animals, reasons why and things that will help describe whatever is going on. They could write just a description of today's weather and draw a picture. They could write some kind of summary or procedure on things that they're working on, how to add two numbers, how to show past tense on a verb, add ed for most of them, things like that. Kids can also make lists. They can help make grocery lists, things I need to do today, ideas I can write about, different types of lists, colors I can name, things like that. They can also, depending on the age of the student, write a one-sentence summary of learning in a subject or a one-paragraph summary. Y'all, this is a great way. So they're watching this thing online, have them write about what they learned, and it'll help you see what they're retaining. You can also, let's just say that they have something in science or social studies. In Pathblazer, there's a lot of reading with that, but also with Studies Weekly, there can be. But you could pull a few, say 5 vocabulary words from that reading, and you guys could just jot them down and then just give them some choice, like choose 3 of those words and write a summary about whatever it is. It might be, a region in Georgia, let's say the Piedmont region. What are some vocabulary words connected with that? And some of it, can you also draw a picture to illustrate your understanding as well? But make them write, guys. The picture plus the writing is where your power is. I included a link also with some other ideas for informal writing. And again, kids write all the time in school, and it's not necessarily that every single thing has to be graded, but this helps reinforce their learning. Some things that can help with writing engagement is having some different fun paper available, different colors, lined, unlined, sticky notes, different shapes. Have a fun pen or pencil that they only use during their writing time. If you write together, for example, if you write about your day or your favorite color, have them do their writing and you do your writing, and then you just share. You have your child read and then you read. And it's a fun way to get to like learn about each other maybe in a different way, and your child will really enjoy the give and take of that. And also having a special writing place can also help make that time a little more special and put a little more emphasis. Maybe your kid has a beanbag that he loves to sit in when he reads or does particular things, or sit at your desk or at the dining room table, wherever it may be. But it just kind of can help set the table, so to speak, for writing. Now, looking over here with the formal writing, when I talk about formal writing, I'm talking about genre-specific writing, such as narrative, informational, and opinion writing. These are genres that the teachers teach explicitly and directly in the classroom. So I am actually in the process, I've just signed the PO for a writing program called WriteScore. And your child and the children here in school learning will have the opportunity, we'll send it off and someone will score it independently. They'll send back specific feedback with lessons that will help support your child. I wanted to do this in the event that we all had to quarantine. It would help the teachers instruct, but also to give some sort of resource for you guys as well. If you are interested in participating, I will be sending you more information when I get more information. I just don't have the materials yet. Kindergarten and first grade will handwrite, and we will ship that to the company, and they'll send it back to us. So you'll have deadlines that you'll have to meet in order to participate. Grades 2 through 4, this will all be online for them. All right, talking about grading and assessments. So state testing is on. Georgia did ask for a waiver because of the pandemic, and the federal government, or the Federal Board of Education, whatever we would like to call them, denied it. So all of our state testing is currently like on. So what does that mean? It means G-Kids in kindergarten. Access is a test that English language learners take to measure their growth in English, the English language. GAA is an alternate assessment for students who are more severely disabled. And then the Georgia Milestones in grades 3 and 4, that is a state assessment that the kids take in reading, writing, and math. How this is going to look for online learners, I do not know. I do not think that the Access, the GAA, or the Georgia Milestones will be allowed to be administered at home. You know, you want your child to be at home for your reasons, and we want to honor that. But I'm waiting to hear from the state just to see how we are going to manage this for our children who are at home. Kindergarten is the only thing, the G-Kids assessment, you guys have already had the first round of readiness assessments that we cannot evaluate every piece in kindergarten because some of it really has to be one-on-one between the person, the teacher, and the child, but everything that we can possibly assess online, we have. So how do you know if your child is being successful? You can look on PathBlazer because it does, there are reports that you can access there. Our kids this year are going to receive a progress report every 6 weeks rather than every 9 weeks as we've done in the past, which adds 2 more touch points for you to be able to see how your child is doing. And of course, last Monday was our first progress report. I did send out a remind message and asked parents to let me know if they did not receive one. And as far as I know now, everybody has received one. I handled each one. I think 3 parents emailed me, and we took care of those. All right, so if I'm in PathBlazer, and here I'm logged in as a student. I can go over here to this portfolio, the red icon. And here I can look at recent work, assignments, or reports. And so you have 3 options right there with the tabs. Over here, you've got this blue notebook paper. And if a child had an assignment and this paper were white, the white would tell you that it has not been started. If it were half white and half blue, it would tell you that the assignment is incomplete. And you have choices over here to look at today, the past week, and the past month. All right. Also, if you go to the reports tab, you can disaggregate different types of learning, such as you could just look at the LA, or you can just look at math, science or social studies, and the type of activity. Is it a quiz, or is it a assignment? What is it? And you can look in a particular date range as well. Now, y'all, you have probably figured this out. Honestly, I assume more y'all know better than I do in a lot of things when it comes to technology. I went to college when we recorded things on floppy disks and nobody had their own computers, much less a phone. So I'm sorry if I'm being redundant here and you're like, I figured that out like in 5 minutes. So, but there you go. Helping your child. I got a couple ideas for you. Thought I misspelled a word, but I'm good. All right, guys. Teaching really is an art and a science, okay? Teachers go to school for 4 years and then they keep going to school. And we have hours of professional learning with them, whether it be for reading, writing, math instruction, you name it. If we have a professional learning day, you can bet that that teacher's probably sitting for at least 4 hours learning. We are lifelong learners here in education. Be patient with yourselves. This does require, to be done well at home, it does require significant adult support, especially depending on the age of your child. But please be patient with yourselves. You chose to do this for your child. And, it's hard to replace somebody, a human being, with all of the training that a teacher has. And so just be patient. You've made a decision to do this for the health and well-being of your family, and it's really okay. But I hear your frustration, and you signed up for a tough job, you guys. So just take it easy on yourselves. Okay, I want to introduce you to an idea called productive struggle. Okay, productive struggle is really important for your kids. Got a little 2-minute video here of how to help your child when your child doesn't know the answer. And guys, I know it can be hard. You don't want your little one to get so frustrated. But there's research that shows, for example, a teacher, like let's just say a kid is sitting reading and stumbles on a word and cannot pronounce it, and the teacher just gives them the word so that they're not stumbling constantly and can keep moving. And another teacher says, use your strategies, sound it out, tap it out, identify the word parts. Let's see if you can figure out the first half. Guess which kid is going to be a much higher scorer? It's the kid that had to apply the strategies. The kid who can apply strategies when they have you there will be able to be the kid who can apply a strategy when they have to do things independently. And what you want to do is you want to foster a sense of independence, even in kindergarten. And so you don't want to foster learned helplessness or a child who is constantly dependent on having somebody there. You really want to foster this idea that I can think, I have a sense of agency, I can self-monitor, I can figure things out on my own. It helps build their confidence, and it also helps them, like I said, this idea of productive struggle is very important. And of course, when a teacher has a class of 20 kids, kids kind of get engaged in this productive struggle because they don't necessarily have a person constantly sitting beside them to help them. But regardless, it is really important for your child. So if you find yourself falling into this, be very careful. Watch this little 2-minute video and think about it. When you start jumping in to help, think about, what can I do to help my child figure this out? Y'all, please have your child read, and then read some more. I can't emphasize enough what reading does for your child. If things are done, I would think by now you have kind of a schedule of your day, and I would hope that reading is very, very prominent in that schedule. Okay, please always feel free to reach out to me if you have a question. I really try to answer in a timely way. Sometimes I'm not as good as I want to be at that, but I really do want to help. And if you have any questions or concerns, please always feel free to reach out because I'm really glad to help in any way. All right, that is everything. I hope that you have a wonderful fall break, and we'll see you on the 5th.